Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
Why won't WWE push the Street Profits? I am Luco, and this is El Fakador Laurie Blake, and welcome to the post-NXT review edition of WrestleRamble, where this was a fine show, I guess.
It was pretty good. I thought there was a couple of quite good matches in this. Some interesting promo work going on, but
I love Bianca Belair's work.
That was very good. I liked some of what Shayna Baszler said. I think it was a pretty good show overall.
Yeah. But
some weird choices, though.
Yes, but we are here to start off this show talking about the opening contest, which was between Street Profits and Chris and JC Metro. But that really was
just
more
a pair of greasers, mate. Just a pair of greasers. Just a couple of T-birds.
I'll be honest, I got to spend most of this time. Like, my opening notes for this is like, is this the Greasers from SmackDown in 2006? What were their names? They were from the other side of the tracks or something. Their manager was on roller skates. One of them was Snooker's kid. Deuce and Domino, that was it. So I missed like the start of the match because I was so busy Googling who they were. Could not remember what they were called. But either way, this match was more of a backdrop, really, for the post-match angle in which the Street Profits, following their promo last week, where they were putting the NXT Tag Team division on notice in that very, very weird little backstage skit that they did, which was wonderful.
Excellent.
The Forgotten Sons came out of nowhere and attacked them and left them laying. Quite a brutal beatdown by Cutler, Jackson Ryder, and the other one.
Blake?
Not Buddy Murphy.
No, Blake.
Blake, yeah.
Who I remember, for we share a surname.
That's why I should have remembered it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I nearly called him Buddy Murphy.
The reason I
can't
be a WWE wrestler with my real name. Can't be another Blake.
Can't have two of them. Otherwise, they'd just make you brothers.
Yeah, oh my God, I don't want to be his brother.
Or you could be part of the Forgotten Sons and have the crowd chant, "Stay forgotten."
Yeah. We forgot you.
We forgot you.
Yeah, and then they kept being like, for the whole bit as well, like, you won't forget us now! It's like, we forgot you already. Like, every time I blink, I forget you're there.
Yeah, we were making fun of the Forgotten Sons in our NXT in review because they were up for like the top prospects or whatever it was. We haven't actually had the results of the NXT awards yet because it's so hard for them to count.
Yes.
Because it's a ridiculous system using Twitter. But anyway, so they came down, did this pretty wicked beatdown on the Street Profits, in all fairness to them. But the crowd really won. I would say that they did get some heat, but it never felt like it was, we don't like you because you're beating up the Street Profits. It's more like, we just don't like you.
Yeah, you're a bit naff, aren't you? So
yeah,
I don't know.
And I think that coupled with the "we forgot you" chants and "stay forgotten," it feels like drifter heat. It's the Elias heat that he was getting in NXT, which was never like, "Boo, you're a heel." It's more like, "God, you're just rubbish."
Yeah, it's a you again heat. It's a you again. Oh
you
God,
again.
My Lord,
I
please.
could really do without you right now. And it kind of like, it's a shame for the Street Profits.
Absolutely.
Because as the title of this video suggests, Street Profits have been in NXT now for, I think this is probably getting into their second year. Maybe this is their third year, actually.
Dawkins has been around a long time.
Yeah, Dawkins has been around forever, really. But them and Ford as a tag team, I suppose we're probably getting into their third year now, or around about that point for them as a tag team. And they've just done nothing.
No, they've had a few sort of flirtations with the idea of ever getting a title shot. Never really done it. Had a feud over a cup. And then mostly do sort of squash matches or showcase matches. And they're definitely worth more than that.
Absolutely.
I think this match showed you, like, even though it was, beating up the two Kanikis, was just like a sort of an obvious beatdown. However, they put on quite a good display. They were a bit, they were saying in their promo last week they were going to be more aggressive. They were going to go after things. And they came out acting more aggressive, but still got laughs and just showed off the bit where they were pushing each other and they pushed Ford over. And he was like...
Yeah, so they were doing like the pushing. If you haven't seen it, they were pushing each other in the chest to psych each other up. Dawkins got too psyched up and pushed Ford down, and he took this big bump and then had this terrified look on his face, like, "Uh-oh."
But then he gets up on the apron, and Dawkins slaps down one of the greasers.
Yeah,
and on the apron, Ford just goes.
This amazing ripperoo like laughter.
So good. They're brilliant. They're really good. And there was Don't Sleep on Me, Boy. They're so charismatic. They're so good. Like Dawkins, slightly less charismatic than Montez Ford, and that's a complaint people make. However, I think. But I mean, Montez Ford is like living charisma,
well, that's
isn't
what
he?
I mean.
It's just like it's impossible to be as charismatic as him. He's so charismatic.
That's kind of my point, is that Montez Ford literally is like the living embodiment of charisma. And Dawkins, his one thing is he puts his arm out and then swirls the other one around like sort of big old mixing bowl.
I think he's probably very charismatic. He just doesn't look it in comparison to the person he stood next to.
I think, because I've never been a Dawkins fan. Like, I thought the Curse of Greatness gimmick never really got over. This whole pot thing never really got over. But
that got over. People were doing that.
But I think that's
because people were like.
I think that's because of Ford, though.
Yeah,
That was what I was going to
yeah.
say. Is I think Ford is bringing the best out of Dawkins, and I think Dawkins now feels more over because he's aligned with Montez Ford, and because Ford is. He's so good. He's so charismatic. It's ludicrous how impressive he is.
He's incredibly athletic as well. I just think it's a shame that we've had this pointless feud with the Mighty, who were never a threat. Bless them, the Mighty have been languishing in NXT for a very long time and now aren't. But they never really had any sort of. Even when they heel turned, they didn't really have any heat behind them. Nobody really cared. Nobody thought they were actually ever going to be like one of the top tag teams. So having them feud, especially in a brand where feuds normally are for titles, most people aren't just having feuds. There's one other feud ever in NXT usually, and it's currently the feud that is the other feud is Riddle and Ohno.
Yeah.
And that is the only other story really existing outside of title matches.
Yes, at least
Or
for like a
things-
takeover card.
Yeah, exactly. But I think mostly, like in general, everything else seems to be sort of like,
TV filler. But I don't
Yes.
think that's the worst thing. Like, you and I have said that what NXT needs more of are these sorts of feuds that you can fill up TV time with and build to like a big TV payoff match.
Yes.
And I think you can certainly argue that that's the case here for Street Profits and I've forgotten their name, it's the Forgotten Sons. The irony. But my issue with it more, and it's the same thing with the Mighty, is that this is not the Street Profits feuding with a top team in NXT. This is them constantly feuding with teams that are below them. And that's not elevating Street Profits, nor is it elevating the people they're facing.
No.
It's bringing them down. Like, they're not feuding with Birch and Lorcan, after their NXT title picture last year. They're not feuding with War Raiders, or they're not feuding with any of these other tag teams. They're feuding with teams that are below them, and it's not advancing them at all in the division.
And it doesn't make the other guys look good either.
No.
It's not going to make the Forgotten Sons any more cared about, is it? Like, or even get they're not even getting the kind of heat I feel that they're after with this. It's like, the Forgotten Sons beat down the Street Profits. Everybody loves the Street Profits with the sippy cup and all that stuff. So you must be cross at the Forgotten Sons. Everyone's just going, why are you here?
Yeah, and I think that really is. It's the Forgotten Sons don't have real heat at the moment.
They've got go away heat.
Yeah, more or less.
Please leave.
If this was a channel that you could change over, they would have changed the channel heat. But we haven't really come up with a term, turn the network off heat.
Yeah, pause it, never come back.
Yeah. Or
skip ahead
use
heat.
that,
That's what they've
use
got.
that skip 10 seconds button that they've got on those. Like,
it's a terrible app to navigate,
skip
isn't it?
10 seconds on the website version. Can keep skipping this until they're off.
Come on.
But I think there's so much that could be done with the Street Profits in 2019. I've got really high hopes for them. I think that once that the Undisputed Era finish up with their War Raiders feud, which I kind of expect Undisputed Era to come out on top of.
Yes.
I think. Like, I haven't
think
really made a
so.
decision. We're not going because Royal Rumble's next weekend, which therefore means that Takeover Phoenix is next weekend as well. So we're going to be recording our predictions for that show, yeah. And I haven't really made up my mind about a lot of the NXT card, nor have I actually for the Rumble, really. Of like who's going to come out on top.
Pick a name out of 30.
So I really do need
that one.
I need to sit down and think about this because at the moment we're currently all tied in
the
Wrestle
Wrestle
League,
League.
And it comes down to these final two shows.
My God.
Which I just want to add again. I would be winning if announcers' tables counted. That's all I'm saying.
Nonsense.
Hashtag announcers' tables count.
It's a desk. it's a desk and not a table.
I did have a more succinct hashtag last time, but
yeah.
I can't remember what it was.
Hashtag those rhombuses are desks. Our tables.
Our tables. Something like that. But what was the point I was going to make? Yeah, so once the Undisputed Era and War Raiders have kind of finished up their feud, I would like to see Street Profits kind of be moved more into that sort of top echelon of the tag team division.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I'd imagine that like War Raiders and Undisputed Era might continue on their feud, maybe even into the Mania season. So like when they do Brooklyn 5, maybe they'll keep doing something there. But come the takeover in the summer, which would have been Brooklyn, but is now wherever it is that SummerSlam's being held. I'm going to say Los Angeles, but I don't know that for sure. In fact, I might Google things live on air and not bring up Ring of Honor, which I was just watching. Can you fill for time while I'm Googling?
Yeah, certainly
live on
can. I think the thing with the War Raiders Undisputed Era, I feel like Undisputed Era have more to do in NXT to at least even pay off the name. Like, it really felt like
Canada. I was way off.
You are.
I was way off.
One country away. My God.
I was way off.
I'm going to say Los Angeles.
Mexico.
Could have been. It's taking place in the Arctic Circle this year.
Yeah, Canada and Toronto specifically.
So
anyway, you've had your point.
I think Undisputed Era, to pay off on the name, have more to do in NXT. I still long for the day when they hold all the belts, and that feels like kind of what they're setting up. There's a few rumors floating around that might be what's kind of going on. Seems to be the direction they're taking. That all their promos are currently about the fact that they're going to be dripping in gold this year. So like, maybe. And I think that is quite a smart choice, because then War Raiders can go on up to the main roster, because I just don't feel like they don't need the titles to legitimize them.
I also think they need to run in NXT.
They're incredibly impressive, those two guys, and I just think you can stick them on the main roster and people will understand who they are, what they are very easily. So people like Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong need a bit more of this sort of run to build a fan base going into it, because when they turn up on the main roster, they are just slightly smaller guys, so they're not getting over with.
They're four lads.
They're not getting over with the management, and they're not, and then the crowd have to be like, okay, well, I have to get used to this technical style and all this stuff. Whereas the War Raiders come out, they've got all the sort of showy, flashy moves, but they also just do stuff where they just chuck people around.
Yeah, and
I think that's impressive. And Vince goes, "Oh yes, big men, I understand that."
I'd also argue as well that with War Raiders, like Undisputed Era feel like they still have stories to tell in NXT, but once War Raiders finish up in a tag title program, it feels like they have no other stories left to tell there. Whereas Undisputed Era, I can see, because you've got all these sort of branching things. You've got Cole going after the NXT Championship. You've got them going after the North American Championship. As you say, dripping in gold. They still have storylines that they can do in NXT.
Yeah.
War Raiders, on the other hand, it's like, well, if they don't win the tag titles, like, well, what's next for you?
Yeah, I think they're probably... So they might... The potential is, I think, that they might win the titles here, next week, and then they'll lose them again at Mania the Undisputed Era again, and then they'll go up.
Yeah.
I cannot see a situation in which the Undisputed Era go up this year.
No,
I think they've got another year in them. It's a lot of stuff Triple H has been saying recently as well, is that he wants, he sees some people as having careers that just exist in NXT and they never go to the main roster. I'm hoping that's not the case, but Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano are the examples of that. People who have had plenty of time to go up, could have gone up easily, have the fan base to do it, and they're still in NXT telling their story that seems to be planned out for quite a long time. And I think Undisputed Era are another one on that list of people who've got a longer term story to tell. That means that the Street Profits, though, should Undisputed Era retain the titles, it's a tailor-made feud, because the Profits are over as a face group and the Undisputed Era are over as a heel faction. It's the very basic, it's the fundamentals of wrestling being told.
And Undisputed Era beating down Street Profits would probably garner better heat than We Forgot You and Stay Forgotten.
Yes.
Poor old Forgotten Sons. Like, I kind of feel bad for
them.
I feel bad for them, because essentially they've been saddled with "You're not sanity," or "Sanity's been called up" gimmick. So we're just going to put you in jackets instead, and you're basically our new Sanity now.
I don't think anyone, it's such a difficult gimmick to get over as well. The idea that just you're annoyed that you keep getting overlooked. And then every time you come out, you mention that you're overlooked and that you won't be forgotten, but you're not doing anything impressive. You're just, if they'd have come back and they'd immediately walked into the top picture, like the title picture on NXT, people will go, oh, I'm taking notice. The Forgotten Sons, annoyed at being forgotten, come out and do this thing. If they're just coming out and having squash matches with rubbish people, it's never going to feel like it's this big thing, like they've actually made this, they've clubbed together, they've become this gang, it's actually important. Sons of Anarchy wouldn't have worked as a biker gang if all they were doing was like stealing tricycles from like children's stores. Like, it's because they're doing huge drug busts or whatever. Like, it has to be big for this to get over. I don't know.
And despite the fact that we've talked about them not quite a bit, but on this show, but we've had them feature on this show since you and I have been doing weekly NXT reviews, I still am so unsure when I'm writing my notes whether it's son, like I am a son to my mother and father, or the big bright ball in the sky.
Right, yeah. No,
every time I write down, I'm like, son. But is it with an O or a U? Yeah. I'm still unsure.
I can never remember is Steve Cutler, is it?
Yeah.
Wesley Blake, Steve Cutler.
And Jackson Riker.
Like, Riker's great.
He's cool, man. But he is cool.
But the problem is, he actually seems like... He seems less interesting because of the other two guys. Because they're always like... He's like this scary... like psychopath that they come out to the ring with, but the other two guys are just yammering the whole time, and it's like I feel like he's like Scar but with being quiet, and they're the hyenas.
Which one's Whoopi Goldberg?
Both of them are Whoopi Goldberg.
All right, well, let's get on to
which one's Ed, more importantly.
Let's get on with the rest of the NXT review. So after that, Street Profits and Chris and JC Metro, which I don't think we mentioned. We didn't really talk about a lot of Deuce and Domino, essentially.
What a terrible name.
Yeah, well, I believe they're the Metro Brothers, I guess.
The Metro Brothers.
Yeah, Chris and JC Metro.
The Subway guys.
Yeah, they came down, they got leather jackets and aviators and
TFL
stuff like that.
Lads.
And the Street Profits won with a fantastic frog splash from Montez Ford.
So high.
So high. It was higher than Rob Van Dam. And then the Forgotten Sons attacked after the match. And then we cut backstage to the Angel Kathy Kelly interviewing Matt Riddle, who's currently embroiled in this feud with Cassius Ohno. And Riddle said that he's not medically cleared to wrestle at the moment, which is why he won't be at ringside for the match between Ohno and Lee, which is going to be main eventing this show.
Lee, who is just stood in the background, just doing some warm-ups.
Just light warm-ups.
I thought that was really weird.
I want to stretch myself to it.
It's another one of WWE's weird like framings that they do. Like the same as the watching the TV. If I was watching this TV on WWE television, I'd be doing that.
I said
nodding along. But like, that, and then this is that exact other thing. It's like Keith Lee is doing something in the background, but sort of not really referencing the fact that he's being spoken about, and they're speaking about him as if he's not there.
And it's so weird to have a backstage segment with Keith Lee where he doesn't cut a promo. Considering how good of a promo he is, to not even have him say something is utterly bizarre.
I mean, he's a great face actor though as well, so he really does sell it with the whole...
He is the best. I did see someone post up on Twitter the image of Lacey Evans on SmackDown watching the TV from that sort of awkward angle. And they just said, like, I bet you this is how she watches TV at home.
She watches TV side saddle, so it's just... like a lady.
I've also been told as well, I'd said it was an old-fashioned that she was drinking, but someone said it was not an old-fashioned. I can't remember what they said it was,
probably
it looked like an old-fashioned, which, given her gimmick, would sort of make sense.
Yeah, it was an orange, I don't know, it was an orange drink. It was Sunny Delight.
It wasn't a Tom Collins, I know that much. I've just misread my notes here.
Not a daiquiri.
Just misread my notes. I've written down that Alien Warlord are one of the NXT themes. It's proper generic. But I looked at it and I was like, why have I written Adam Warlock?
Adam Warlock.
There's no gauntlet going on here. But yeah, Alien Warlord are one of the NXT loud themes. Well generic. Aleister Black also cut a promo in the same room as Rob Van Dam. And he said that he will absolve Ciampa of his sins and win back his NXT championship. Proper well smoky in this room. But I thought it was a cool promo for Black. Cool presentation. And I like this about NXT. Everyone has like their different area where they cut backstage promos. Gives each person a different feel. And I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, I like this promo. I thought it was pretty good. There was a lot of him doing menacing face, maybe a bit too much, but overall it was pretty good. Maybe it just went on too long, and you sort of run out of mystique, I think, when you're just going, and you will fade to black, and I will absolve you of your sins, and there will be candles, and we will blow them out, and then I will do the last rites, and then you will be married. It gets sometimes you go too far into the mysticism. Like Bray Wyatt is another one that suffers or suffered from that, depending on what his new gimmick is when he comes back. But he always went so deep in on like I am the eater of worlds, and the worms will feast on your flesh, and the worms will grow into chrysalises, and then the chrysalises will be beautiful moth creatures that I will have flying around me with the fireflies, and now I've run out of things that I'm going to say.
You were making a Pokemon reference or something. I was like, it's crystals.
And then it's a Butterfree.
Then we got an awesome promo next, which is Bianca Belair coming out. One of my favorite things about Bianca Belair is watching all the white guys try to do her dance and looking even whiter in the process. Yeah. It makes me laugh every time. But Bianca Belair, she's an amazing in-ring performer. She's instantly she is taken to this sport, and she's so good at it. And I don't think I've ever really given her enough credit as a promo either. I thought she'd cut a really, really solid promo here. She gets her character. Not only does she get a character, she gets her character across with the way that she delivers her words and delivers the verbiage that she's been given. I'm a big fan of Bianca Belair.
It's her intonation that's so good. Like, it was she got the whole undefeated thing, but she does that with a lot of, she just puts a little bit of twist on words that just makes you go, she seems quite sassy.
Yes.
Coming across. I know. She's really good. She's really, really good.
Really, really great. And she's, because she's got the NXT Women's Championship shot against Shayna Baszler at Phoenix. And she says that Shayna is just hiding behind her horsewomen. But at Phoenix, she will win the title because she's undefeated. But as she was about to finish the TED, Baszler, Duke, and Shafir come out. Shayna Baszler's awesome entrance music. I cannot get enough of it. It's so good. And Baszler comes out and says that she doesn't see why that Belair is the EST of NXT. Really, you're just overrated. And that led to this dueling crowd chant of
really good.
Undefeated and overrated. It was really, really cool. I think there's a massive amount of hate going into this match.
It was a really hot promo, and it made this match seem like a much bigger deal. Because I think both of them came out and they started off a little bit on wobbly ground, and they both really got into their separate promos and got to this point where this big chant was going off. It was great.
Great stuff.
Really, really good. There was a great line from Bianca Belair that I really liked. Was even though 2019 has just started, I've already got 2020 vision.
Nice.
Great for the NXT title. Yeah, it's a really good, good little lines, great little things like that, saying overrated and getting the chant for that going. And then the good bit where Baszler got cocky and she was like, look, you worried about these two? She pushes them back to the corner of the ring, and as she turns around, Belair just slaps her
in the face.
Amazing.
And it's great as well because it's little things like that get across the storyline of this match, which is that Belair has got to overcome Duke and Shafir on the outside, the same way that Kairi Sane had to overcome them as well. So you're having them in the ring, and Belair stands tall at the end of this segment, showing that she can, if going to the right corners and everything, can overcome the fact that she's at a numbers disadvantage.
Well, and the fact that she's not scared as well.
Absolutely,
I think is the main sort of takeaway from this. Is she took a swipe at Baszler, got out of the ring smartly, and then she was the one stood on the ramp at the end, blowing out kisses, waving goodbye,
swinging the hair and that, doing the dance. We then got a great little match between Adrian Jaude,
knock off Eddie Gordo.
Versus Dominik Dijavoic. Is it Kick or
Dijakovic?
As Dijakovic. Stupid name.
It's so dumb. But it's such a dumb... It's dumb to rename him to something that nobody can say.
It's so dumb. And it's one thing that you and I get it wrong. I say you and I, usually me, gets this thing wrong. The commentators are getting it wrong as well. Mauro Ranallo, who after this NXT set of tapings put out a tweet apologising because he didn't think he did a good enough job on commentary, which I haven't noticed. I think he's been as he usually is. He was the one who was having to correct the other two divs, saying his name wrong. You work for the company, you should know.
Just don't name him that. It just doesn't make any sense.
Donovan Dijak. It's so simple to say.
Yeah, but Dominik Dijak also works. It doesn't, whatever way you're doing it, it still sounds it sounds like the thing you were trying to make it sound by putting Ovich at the end.
Yeah. It's Dijakovic. Anyway, so it was Dijakovic in this match.
They're obsessed with these names, Otis Dozovic.
He'll come up to the main roster and just be called Dominic anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know why we're all getting...
Dom.
Dom's coming out here.
Yeah, it's Dom.
That's my cousin's kid's name's Dom. Dominic. Lovely double takedown by Jaude. This was basically MMA in a wrestling ring. I mean, I'm not an MMA expert, so it might not even be an MMA thing, but I've written down they do MMA things.
Well, I liked it. I thought it was an interesting concept for the match, I think, to go like, let's do some really technical stuff at the beginning. I don't know, like, from my limited knowledge of capoeira, which is the martial art that Jaude does, I believe, or that's why he's doing all the spinny kicks. My knowledge of that only comes from Tekken, so I feel like it's flashier than what he was doing. He was doing a lot more sort of like takedowns. I think they were saying it was like jiu-jitsu based stuff.
I think so as well.
I like this idea. I quite like matches where you're chopping down the big guy if you're doing it smart. Like Kyle O'Reilly is one person who is fantastic at limb manipulation stuff that can take someone much bigger down and work them over in the right way. Jaude was doing the same thing in this match here, and it worked really, really well. I'm just not sure that Dijavoic needs that right at this second. I just feel like this match, while good, I don't feel like they've been pushing Jaude enough for it to be like, it shouldn't have been as back and forth as it was. It might as well just be, it should have just been a squash match for Dijavoic here, or put him in there against someone else. There are other people on the roster who've been built up to be pretty good names. Not Kona Reeves.
Tesco's finest.
Yeah, anyone else, put him in there, have this competitive match, have him come out on top, and he looks really good.
Yeah.
There are plenty of names in NXT that you could use. Like Keith Lee would have been a good one in this scenario. If he's going to take losses anyway, like, put him in there against Dijavoic.
Yeah.
Because they could have a really even match. The Dijavoic just happens to come out on top. But no one looks any worse for it, really.
Yeah. It wasn't like... Yeah, it was a fine little match, I suppose. Dijavoic sort of like took over. The crowd was silent for this, though. Like, he did a throwing suplex. Jaude made a bit of a comeback, and then Dijavoic laid him out with the clothesline, which he calls the Bloodline, which could be a Slayer reference. And then he hits the reverse GTS for the win. Still think the reverse GTS is a wicked move.
That is awesome. I also like his
time to fly. His little throwing suplex.
His throwing suplex.
Yeah, it's weird as well. Like, you say it's capoeira. I mean, I've got very limited knowledge of capoeira. Like, my old housemate did it, but like he did it after I'd moved out, so I just remember seeing him do it on Facebook and stuff. But I think capoeira is like, it's a non-contact thing. Yeah, it's almost like, it's basically dancing, right? But with kicks and whatnot. It's basically wrestling, but like with no contact.
Perfect for this.
Exactly.
You scare them until they... If I wanted to hit you, I could. Look at it.
Dijavoic will be part of Worlds Collide, the NXT versus NXT UK versus 205 Live competition that is so important it is yet to be mentioned on any show.
Yes.
Not even on this one, and they're a part of it. Dijavoic is in this tournament, so's Keith Lee.
And Humberto Carillo, who was...
Well, is he announced for it again?
Oh, no, they haven't, but he was announced.
He
was announced, and then they took him out, and then he debuted on 205 Live on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But he's also on NXT
this week. Yeah.
So who's he with?
I think 205 Live is an actual live show.
I feel
so
like
that's a more common, that's a more current timeline.
That's what I think. I think so. Next week he'll probably be on 205, and then that announcement will come out ahead of Access, which is on Saturday. Saturday, is it?
Saturday.
Saturday.
I think it could be on Sunday as well.
I think it's like a 2-day tournament, so it's like
Saturday, it is a 2-day tournament. Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It will be on the network.
I mean, it's probably going to be really good.
The problem
but you just don't care, do you?
Like, you and I were talking about this on the Patreon podcast that we did. Like, it's a great concept, and you're taping it for the network, but you're not airing it on the network when it airs. You're airing it at some point in the future, big air quotes for podcast listeners. So by that point, we'll all know who wins, and no one will watch it. Yeah, so why bother taping it?
But it's really good people, isn't it? It's like really, and also it's for the prize is great. Like, the winner gets to take a title shot for any of the 3 titles that they want.
Keith Lee could go after the Cruiserweight Championship.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was like. Dozovic could as well. Like,
Dozovic, main roster's Dozovic in the NXT brackets.
WWE Raw or SmackDown's Dozovic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm going after whatever.
I'm going for the women's tag team titles.
Yeah. We got a really cool video package next from the War Raiders, and they were like in the middle of a field. It was nighttime. They had like a sort of like funeral pyre thing with chairs with the Undisputed Era logo on there. I've written it's like a Viking funeral, but that's not right, is it? Because that's when they go out to sea.
But I think that's what it was meant to be alluding to. So a Viking funeral is that you light a longboat on fire, isn't it? And you push it out. You push it out to sea.
If I remember rightly.
Yeah, but I imagine a similar thing. I mean, in God of War, the Viking Norse one, he just does a funeral pyre. So I think a pyre is a normal sort of Viking funeral rite.
Is that the new one?
Yes.
Okay, not played that.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't played it.
It's very good.
I haven't played any of the others either, so I don't know why I asked.
Yeah. Is it the new one? Well, the old ones were the Greek gods, Luke. Come on.
Okay, well, thank you for clearing that up.
Different pantheon.
Come on,
catch up. It's 2019 now.
Does he have a whip?
Yes, he does.
Oh, okay,
yes,
I'm more interested
Spoiler. That is quite a big spoiler.
But it was like they say that they respect, and I like these promos when people say like, I respect you, Undisputed Era. I respect the things that you've done. You've taken bits out of us, because it puts over the people that you're feuding with. You're not going like, do you know you're rubbish, you.
Yeah.
Like, because then if you lose to them, you also look rubbish. So we're doing Royal Rumble 2000 for the $5 Patreon podcast, which will be out next week. It should be right, because we're going to record it on Friday, and it's going to be out on Friday, and like the promo for that pay-per-view with Triple H and Cactus Jack, the opening half of that video package is Cactus Jack going like, Triple H, you are the game, you are the WWF champion, you're so good, you're this, and Triple H going like, Cactus Jack, you're the king of the deathmatch, you're this, you're sick and sadistic, and I'm, and it's putting over each other, and then you flip it and be like, I'm Cactus Jack, I am sick and twisted, I'm the king of the deathmatch, I am Triple H, I'm the game, putting both of yourselves over, and that it's one of the best video packages ever. And so I really like this package, because it was War Raiders going like, you guys are really, really good, you're awesome, and we respect that. But come Phoenix, we're going to take the titles off of you.
But that's what I mean. It's like, it works for certain characters to put everyone else down. It works for Becky Lynch's character to put everyone else down because she's pure ego.
Yeah.
But for most other people, like Ronda Rousey on Raw is saying to the likes of Sasha Banks, I really respect you. I really want to blah, 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 blah. And that's why it will be an honour to tap you out with an armbar. But then on Twitter, she's like throwing shade, being, like taking people down, trying to do that stuff. And it's like, actually, Ronda Rousey's character should be quite respectful, because she's a competitor. Like, she should be trying to challenge the best people to prove that she is the baddest woman on the planet. But be like, no, I really respect everything you've done. You've done way more in this company than I have. However, I am the future, and I'm going to take you down for those reasons.
Yeah, totally.
But I love it when people just make it like it's a proper fight. Like, you don't want to be like, you're rubbish. And it's like, well, then why are you having a match against them? Why do you even care?
And it's funny as well that you say that I like it when it's treated like a proper fight, because this was two people out in the middle of a field doing a Viking funeral.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. But I mean, in real life...
Yeah.
He had a Viking wedding, so
I know.
It
doesn't really make. Like,
make any sense.
I mean, my note here is like, this was very goofy. It was very Triple H.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
But I
thought it was great.
It's true to life.
Yeah.
Like, there
works for their character.
So this is the thing. The one thing I think about this though, watching this promo. Hanson's too sweet.
He's got a wonderful little voice, hasn't he?
He sounds so nice. He's like the friendliest man.
Because you've got Rogo like, we respect you.
We respect you.
And you got Hanson going like, but we're going to beat you at the pay-per-view if you don't mind.
Yeah. And that is undisputed. Undisputed. Undisputed.
It's now our era, if you don't mind. Your era is going to end and we're going to take over.
Oh, he's so nice.
He's lovely. I'd love to go out for a beer with them. I think it'd be a proper lark.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really fun.
Skoll.
Yeah. I mean, they'd probably drink out of, like, proper, like, tankards and things like that. Flagons. That's what you want to be drinking out of. Ales that are made out of, like, beer piss or bear piss.
Beer piss.
Beer piss. That's Foster's, isn't it?
That's just... Yeah, but then you're just taking back in your own nutrients.
They showed a highlight package for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, including the debut of Volta, who is the best. You
mean Blackpool, not Brooklyn?
Yes. I've written Brooklyn in my notes.
I was like, Walter wasn't in Brooklyn.
I did mean Blackpool. Yeah, that'll teach me. I was just so excited to see the debut of Volta again. I did actually watch Blackpool on Sunday while I was tidying up around the house. And really, like, the tag match, the opening tag match was just like, was awesome. The rest of the show didn't really grab much of me. It didn't really grab any of my attention. But I would say, like,
the final versus Balor was wicked.
I thought the final 10 minutes of the Coffee Pete Dunne match was really, really great. And then the debut of Volta, like, that really was like a sit-up moment and be like, hello, I'm taking notice here.
I just didn't... you know what? I'd forgotten.
Or the Volta debuted.
No, I'd forgotten that was a possibility. But going into the show, I was like, what will they like? And then I heard about it. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that he'd signed.
I was expecting him to be sat in the crowd, but this is a much better way to do it.
Oh, it's wicked.
And I'm not kidding, but setting up Volta versus Pete Dunne. Like, Ollie didn't want to go to Blackpool. The reason why we didn't go to that show is because Ollie didn't want to go, because he just said it's not a main event I want to see. So we didn't go. But I think a main event of Volta and Pete Dunne, that is the sort of main event that may make Davis, who does ultimately make all the decision around here, go like, yeah, okay, let's go to that show then.
It's the perfect main event. I mean,
it's a perfect main event.
And also, Volta is the person who should topple Pete Dunne.
Yeah, he should be.
Freeing up Pete Dunne also to go to the main wroster for a bit, or whatever their plan is, because Pete Dunne's a future Universal Champion in my mind, like easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Volta should be the guy to take the belt off Pete Dunne in his 600-day reign. Speaking of really, really good stuff, Johnny Gargano was in Action Next, taking on our boy Humberto Carillo. I thought we wouldn't see him on NXT again after his 205 Live call-up. I wasn't sure if they taped anything for him in NXT.
No.
Thankfully, God bless the taping schedule.
So good.
We got to see him here. That handsome little devil that he is, as tall. He's great. I bloody love Carillo.
He's got some wicked moves.
He's awesome.
He does everything so crisp. Like, all of his moves are just like that. Springboard arm drag that he does.
Oh, the height that he gets.
But it's beautiful. It's just like...
Yeah, it's effortless.
So I was getting images for my news earlier today, in which I do a quick rundown of what happened in NXT, and I got the image of that arm drag, and there's they've got a very good shot of it from across the ring. Carillo perfectly poised in the air like this. Gargano holding onto his arm, ready to be dragged. But Gargano's just looking at him like an angel. Wow. It's incredible.
He's a little bit, though. He's a handsome little chap, and he's great. And I like that they built this match as well very smartly. Right at the start, Nigel McGuinness said that Carillo is a lot like Ricochet. So this is going to be a really good test for Johnny Gargano. And I was like, what a brilliant little simple story to tell. It explains why this match is happening. It explains why the character of Johnny Gargano would want this match. Because he wants to show that, hey, if this guy's like you, I can beat him. And therefore, I can beat you as well and take your title. I thought it was a really, really smart match. And it was kicked off brilliantly as well, because Johnny Wrestling locks in an arm lock and just goes, Johnny Wrestling!
I think the story, beyond that story of this match as well, that they told it well through the match, that Johnny was struggling with this sort of innovative offense of someone like Carillo, dealing with an actual high flyer.
Yeah.
He was really struggling to sort of get a foothold in this match, but as soon as he did, he turned it around.
Yeah,
and that was the key, is that Johnny is so good that when Johnny does start doing Johnny stuff, you got to watch out, because he can put you away in about 4 moves.
And I think this match as well, and I'd certainly compare this to the Rey Andrade match from SmackDown. It should have been the main event of this show.
Yes, definitely.
I really think it should have been the main event of this show. But there was some really, really great stuff in here. So as you say, that Carillo was sort of running wild with lucha things, doing this high springboard arm drag. It's so awesome. And he starts making a comeback and hits a springboard back elbow, a missile dropkick, and this roll-through moonsault. So incredibly athletic. But Gargano gets the boots up after the moonsault, hits a super kick in the lawn dart, slingshot DDT, and wins. And then he looks into the camera right after, and he challenges Ricochet to show up next week. Great stuff. And they've announced, Willie Regal announced on...
Big Willie
Regs announced on Twitter that it will be Gargano versus Ricochet at Phoenix, which sounds like an amazing match.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, please. Backstage interview, or backstage promo rather, with Tommaso Ciampa kissing his title, and he says that Black keeps calling him the Puppets Master. Well, you, Black, are the ultimate puppets. And saying that he's been playing him however he wants, and he says, and I love this as well, because Aleister Black in his promo was like, I want to fight now. I don't want to wait till Phoenix. I want to have this fight now. Ciampa, with this absolutely amazing line, says, yeah, we could fight now, but I'm going to wait until the main event of Phoenix, because that's what a main event player does.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Excellent little dig at Black as well, who, as NXT champion, never main evented a takeover. So good. Yeah, and he said, be careful what you wish for. Thought it was great.
I love Ciampa.
Love Ciampa. Also, big fan of the Velveteen Dream, who had a wicked little video package putting himself
We've seen
over.
this one before, but it's very good.
Have we seen it before?
I don't know. I've seen it before because of the 2018, 2019. I love it. It's so funny.
This is
He's
new to me.
So good.
He is good.
I think it was on NXT maybe last week or the week before. Or maybe in that big just recap episode, it was in there somewhere.
Oh, did I miss it when I was doing some skipping around?
Possibly, yeah.
Could be.
Making a tea.
Probably. And he said, if you don't believe the hype, you can ask Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, John Cena, or Triple H. He promises big things for 2019, and he'll be in action next week. 2019. And in our main event, it was the continuation of that Cassius Ohno Matt Riddle storyline where Ohno took on Limitless Keith Lee in a disappointingly boring match.
Two big guys doing big guy things at each other.
Yeah, disappointing.
I thought it was good. I just think it was a bit rote.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
It's a real shame. Power shown by Lee early, sort of teased a dive, but Ohno got out of the way, and then Ohno took over and but he took over with chin locks and rest holds, and wasn't anything particularly exciting. And then Lee made a comeback for a little bit, and then essentially, at the end, Lee was making his big comeback, and he hit the overhand chops and the pounce, and then Ohno sort of grabs the ropes and pushes Lee into the referee. Low blow by Ohno because the referee was distracted. Rolling elbow, and he won. Cassius Ohno got a win, which doesn't happen very often. But another loss for Keith Lee, which they brought up on commentary because they said that Lee lost to Lars Sullivan.
2 in a row now, yeah.
That's 2 in a row. They said, last time we saw Keith Lee was losing to Lars Sullivan, and he's losing again here. That's got to be playing on his mind.
I really want to see Keith Lee in a even competition against a smaller guy who's really good, like your Johnny Garganos, your someone like that.
Carillo.
Humberto. Oh my God, I would love to see that match.
Yeah, right.
But I think any one of that sort of build, I think you'll get a much better match out of it. I think this match, because it wasn't really about Keith Lee, sadly. It was just, this was just part of the story of Matt Riddle going forward, which is kind of a shame. But yeah, I would love to see an even match where someone is fighting from sort of underneath the power imbalance with Lee, and then they step up doing all this crazy stuff. Lee steps up, starts doing all of his crazy stuff. That would be a much more interesting match. Here, it's just two big guys who are very athletic big guys and can do a lot of more impressive stuff that, some guys their size cannot do. Just doing that at each other. And actually, that didn't really work here because it didn't feel like a game. They could have pitched it as a game of one-upmanship almost here. That, Cassius does something a bit freakish for his size. Keith Lee does something a bit freakish for his size.
Yeah.
Cassius does boom, 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 boom. And you escalate until you get to this point where it seems like Keith's about to win. Bumps the referee. Cassius low blow. Rolling elbow.
And I think that's kind of like sort of the problem with this match. It wasn't because Ohno's great, Lee's amazing. It's just that the match was kind of pitched wrong.
Yes.
As you say, it was more or less like chin locks and rest holds. And I don't think that's the match, because I know that Lee can have these sort of matches with these bigger guys. The Tomohiro Ishii match and the two that he had with Ishii at Rev Pro matches shows that Keith Lee can have these sorts of matches with guys that are like his size, like his stature. But that's not what this match was. And as you say, it's not a great showing for Lee because he's not the focus of this. He is a cog in the Riddle-Ohno machine.
Yes.
He is just a small part of this.
The placeholder Matt Riddle feud until Matt Riddle goes into the main title picture.
Exactly.
You've got to imagine.
And also, Ohno needed to win here because you need to put over Ohno in order for Riddle to beat him at TakeOver. Yeah. So if Lee won here, then what's the point of having the match?
Do you know what? I think they should have just done a disqualification finish. They should have just gone, Cassius just goes too far, gets DQ'd. Lee then gets a win, and it's not like a straight line. Even though, obviously, Ohno cheated, so Lee's pretty protected here. I just think you could have gone further and just gone, you know what, Ohno just gets himself DQ'd.
Yeah.
Then Riddle runs down trying to break it all up. And you can have the exact same story play out. And it's just a little bit less damaging to Lee.
I would agree, yeah, because after the match...
he looked a bit like a sucker as well, because he was winning until that. He was on top until the point where they bumped the referee. He walked over, stood quite far away and sort of poured...
Ref, are you fine,
He
mate?
sort of poured at his back, get up, man.
Come on, man.
And then perfectly, so Ohno could bring his arm through. But yeah, it just felt a bit like, oh, you dope.
It was a bit of a lackluster finish, and after the match, Matt Riddle runs down. The referees are trying to stop him, but he just sort of powers through them. He's not medically cleared, and he
On
gets
the
into the
speed
ring.
of his flip-flop.
He gets down to the ring, and he chases Ohno off, and that was where the show ended. So, yeah, I mean, I think there was some really good stuff on the show. The Bianca Belair promo I thought was great. Gargano versus Carillo was awesome. I wasn't massively sold on the main event. I love the Street Profits.
Their match was good.
Yes,
as in they made it very enjoyable to watch them
because
beat
they
down
are
some guys.
amazing.
Yes, yeah.
But unfortunately, the Forgotten Sons are not a great feud for them.
Yes, a bit of a dead end.
Yeah, a bit of a dead end. And Dijavoic is always fun, I guess. So that's all we've got time for on this show. Unless you had any final thoughts for NXT?
No.
That's all we've got time for on this episode of the WrestleRamble. Click the videos that have just appeared on this desk to catch up with the latest WrestleTalk awesome things, and this button right here, which will subscribe you to the podcast where we talk about Dungeons and Dragons a lot, and it's fun and it's free. Go listen to it. I've been Luke Owen. This has been our fake Laurie Blake, and that was NXT.